My boyfriend and I have been together for 1.5 years, but we're at different stages in life. I'm in my senior year of college, and he's finishing pharmacy school. He assumed we'd live together after graduation to save money and spend more time together. His plan was for us to work for a while, buy a house, and then get married. When I asked why marriage had to wait until after buying a house, he said, "That's just what people do." I got the impression he was thinking that buying the house before marriage would keep it as his asset. He said if I contributed, I'd get a share proportional to what I paid. At the time, I thought it was responsible of him to plan for the future. However, when I told my parents, they weren't thrilled. They felt he was being too calculated, especially for someone my age. They explained that helping him pay for his house wouldn't benefit me and compared it to being his tenant. They suggested I should only buy a house with someone I'm married to, with both names on it. My cousin and aunt also weighed in. My aunt was especially firm, urging me to break up with him, saying I shouldn't be with someone so calculating, especially early in the relationship. At first, I was upset, but over time I started to see their point. I learned more about finances and laws, and during a conversation about marriage, I brought up community property laws in California, where assets are split 50-50 after 10 years of marriage. He called it stupid and said he'd want a prenup. I was shocked and pointed out he wasn't rich, but he replied, "I will be one day." This gave me flashbacks to what my family had said, and it left me with an uneasy feeling. My aunt warned me about men who overthink finances and how that mindset can lead to resentment if one partner earns less. I didn't think my boyfriend would be like that, but now I see how his approach to marriage and money feels unromantic and hurtful. It's not entirely unreasonable, but it's hard to shake the feeling that he's too focused on protecting himself, almost as if he fears I'd take from him if he becomes wealthy. Aside from this, he's always been kind and generous with gifts, food, and other expenses. I love him a lot, but his insistence on planning for a prenup and his certainty about future wealth make me question things. I've always believed marriage is about partnership through thick and thin, not about dividing personal assets. My dad, a surgeon, never asked my mom for a prenup or made her contribute to a house before or after marriage. It makes me wonder if my boyfriend and I are truly compatible in how we view our future. Since that conversation about marriage and finances, I haven't been able to shake the heavy feeling inside. It's like it's settled deep down and just won't let go. At first, I tried to calm myself down. Well, yeah, he wants to be practical. He wants to protect what he thinks he earned with his own hard work. Maybe that's a good thing. It shows responsibility, right? But the more I think about it, the more questions arise. Why did he decide to talk about all this now? Why this particular order of events? Work, house, and only then marriage? And if I proposed my plan, would he at least consider it, or would he insist on his own? These thoughts started creeping into our conversations. I began asking questions more often, sometimes almost casually. For example, we were sitting at dinner one evening, and I asked, "Are you sure you want us to live together right after graduation? Why not try living separately for at least a year to get used to our new lives?" He raised his eyes, looking at me with surprise. "Are you serious? You were saying you wanted to live together before." "Yeah, but back then I wasn't thinking about all the details. Do you realize how this might look from the outside?" He frowned even more and put his fork down on the plate. "What do you mean, how it looks?" "Well, for example, like I'm just renting a room from you. Or like we're doing it not to be together, but so you can save money faster for your house." "That's nonsense." He raised his voice a little. "Why would you think that?" I bit my lip, unsure of how to respond. It wasn't just nonsense. These were the words I'd heard from my parents, from my aunt, from my cousin. These were their doubts that were now becoming mine. I let out a breath. Because sometimes it feels like you're thinking about everything only in terms of benefit. He stared at me as though I'd slapped him. "What? Seriously?" I continued, feeling my voice tremble a little. "You talk about our future like it's some project. Everything has to go according to plan, with all risks considered. Even when you brought up marriage, it was only after buying the house. Why does it have to be that way? Why can't it be different?" "Because it's logical." He leaned back in his chair, his tone becoming defensive. "We'll live together, save money, buy our own place, and then get married. I just want to do things the right way." "But right for who?" For you? I locked eyes with him, feeling his confusion. Have you ever thought about what I want? He was silent for a while, then slowly replied, crossing his arms. All right, what do you want? This question caught me off guard. What did I want? Honestly, I wasn't entirely sure myself. All I knew was that I felt deeply disappointed. I really did love him. I loved his kindness, his attention, the care he showed in little things. But this calculation, this belief that wealth would eventually come, and that he had to protect himself, it felt like a cold shower. I don't know, I finally said, feeling my eyes sting, but definitely not this. There was a heavy silence in the room. He didn't push the topic further, but I knew this conversation didn't resolve anything. If anything, it only made me doubt things even more. The next day, I called my mom. I'd been hesitating to do so because I knew what she'd say, and I didn't want to hear it. But eventually, I realized I needed to talk to someone. Mom, I started cautiously. We talked about our future again yesterday. She stayed quiet, waiting for me to continue, and I told her everything. About our dinner, how he reacted, how I felt like I was just part of his plan. Sweetheart, she finally said, you know he won't change, right? People like him always think about themselves first. But he's not like that. I blurted out, defending him. He's kind, thoughtful. Only until it comes to things that are important to him, she interrupted. You said it yourself. When it comes to money or marriage, he becomes someone else. I stayed silent. Deep down, I knew she was right. A week passed and I couldn't stop thinking about it. One evening, we talked about it again. I decided to ask directly, if we didn't have money, if we were left with nothing, would you still want to be with me? He looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language. Of course I would. Why are you asking? Because sometimes it feels like you care more about money than about me, I said, not looking at him. He sighed and rubbed his face in frustration. That's not true. I just want to make sure we have stability. Is that really a bad thing? No, it's not bad, I replied quietly. But I'm not sure your idea of stability matches my idea of happiness. He was silent for a long time, then suddenly said, you know, I think we see life too differently. Those words hit me like a blow. Maybe because I had been thinking the same thing. Now, a few days after that conversation, I'm sitting alone in my room, trying to come to terms with what's going to happen next. I know I love him, but maybe love isn't everything. Sometimes compatibility matters more than feelings. And the more I think about it, the more I realize that our paths are probably diverging. It hurts. But maybe this is what growing up feels like.